Football fans across the country can become even more involved with their teams and players by joining a fantasy football league. Cougar has a story.
Ever fantasized about creating your own football team from scratch? Well, now you can with fantasy football. Here to talk a little more about it is Tyler Tomlinson, a fantasy football expert.
Well, fantasy football exactly is like you get a bunch of your friends and you just join a league on ESPN.com or Yahoo.com or any of those other websites that have it. And what you do is you draft your own team. As the manager and controller of your own fantasy football team, some steps you take during the season to manage your team, you just got to place certain guys in at certain times. During the week before Sunday hits, you look at your team, you check them, check your players, and you check out who they're playing, what team they're playing, and you decide who to start and who not to start. Come draft time, in our particular league, there's 12 teams. The way I prepare on draft day and before draft day comes is looking up in a bunch of different magazines, such as ESPN magazine and Sports Illustrated magazine, because in those magazines, those are the top sports magazines, and they have a bunch of leaderboards and projection stats and previous year stats and how each player did against certain defenses. Fantasy football has definitely made me love the game of football more as a fan and just as a player of fantasy football, because I used to just go for my Chargers and just watch my favorite players play and follow them. But now, ever since playing fantasy football, I follow more players and more teams. So I'm more involved in the whole game of football as a whole.
For further information, or if you want to create your own fantasy team, go to ESPN.com/fantasyfootball. From Cougar Stadium, I'm Kyle Gafori, Cougar News.
Now it's time for sports, where there was a full week of playoff action here in the Santa Clarita Valley.
For details on that and more, we turn to Ryan Foote. Ryan?
Guys, and yes, it definitely was a great weekend in Santa Clarita Valley. After getting past Thousand Oaks and Buena, the Valencia Vikings look to keep their perfect season going against Moorpark and make their way into the Division II Finals to take on Westlake. We head out to Valencia High School, where the captains exchange pleasantries before the semifinal matchup gets going. On their first possession, Moorpark running back Austin Edmondson makes a huge 55-yard touchdown run running past the entire Valencia Vikings secondary. Valencia, though, was able to answer back. With a little trickery, a wide receiver reverse pass from Zach Tartable finds Jake Reed wide open in the end zone for the touchdown. Old reliable Austin Edmondson answered back in the second half with an 8-yard touchdown run. Unfortunately, though, the fat lady was singing for the Vikings in the fourth quarter when quarterback Brody Roharts runs in for the 20-yard touchdown run. Moorpark won 40-14 and will take on Westlake in the finals. Santa Clarita Christian captured their second straight 8-man state championship, defeating Faith Baptist 38-22. Leading the way for the Cardinals was team leader Colin Kioshian, who racked up 118 yards on 33 carries. He rushed for 3 touchdowns as well as passing for a score. Kioshian also showed up to play on defense, forcing a fumble, which led to a Cardinal score. Faith Baptist running back Nicholas Wallen led a late charge for the contenders with 94 rush yards on 16 carries. Wallen ran one in and threw for a touchdown of his own in the fourth quarter. During the victory, BYU-bound Colin Kioshian made state history by bringing his career rushing touchdown total to 102, which is an 8-man state record. A week ago, the Saugus girls cross-country team made history in winning their 4th consecutive state championship. On Saturday, the Centurions took a trip to Portland, Oregon to compete in the Nike cross-country national meet. The past 2 seasons, the Centurions finished in 2nd, but this year ended up in 4th place overall. Star runner Kaylin Mahoney finished in 13th place with a final time of 18 minutes and 10 seconds. Congratulations to Saugus for another wonderful year. Next year will bring another opportunity to prove themselves, with team leader Kaylin Mahoney returning for her senior season. COC's goalie has made the switch from riding motocross to keeping pucks out of the net for the Cougars. Justin Price has the story.
From the muddy hills of motocross to hard-checking hockey, COC student Casey Morris is an all-around athlete. But why did he pick hockey? I got more from behind the mask.
I'm a goalie for College of the Canyons. Goalie is a position I felt it's a fun spot to be at. A lot of pressure, which I'm used to. Nothing like just feeling the pressure of yourself and everybody around. Basically, it's something I wanted to learn how to do and something I wanted just to get down.
I asked COC's head coach John Taffner and COC's backup goalie Mike McGrath on what they think of Casey.
Well, Casey Morris is the all-around athlete. I think Casey Morris needs just a little improvement when it comes to squaring up the shooter in the corner.
Oh, he's great. He, he's the first one out at every practice. He works hard. He tries hard. He puts forth 110%.
On that note, Casey has played in 5 games and has allowed only 7 goals. This is Justin Price reporting for Cougar News.
That will wrap up the fall semester in sports, and what an exciting semester it was. Turning into the spring when the baseball and softball take the field.
That does it for this edition of Cougar News. I'm Daniela Packram. And remember, you can catch a replay of this and previous shows on scvtv.com. And for more stories, photos, and video logs, log on to cougarnews.wordpress.com.
And I'm Maurice McFarland. You can also send us news, tips, and story ideas to cougarnews@canyons.edu. Good night.